Tonight should feel like a celebration. It is my wedding anniversary, though my wife has been gone for 5 years now. Still, I mark the date. I set the table for one place, her favorite blue china cup beside my plate, and pour myself a small glass of whiskey. Ordinary objects become sacred when the person who once touched them is no longer here. The cup looks both familiar and strange, as if her handprint still lingers on its handle. I light a single candle on the dining table. The flame flickers, stretching shadows across the room that once held laughter. Silence presses down on me, heavy, unbroken. I think of how many anniversaries we celebrated under this roof, our first when we had nothing but borrowed chairs, and the last when she was already sick, smiling faintly through her pain. As I sit, my eyes fall on the mantel. There, tucked behind a photo frame of my daughter as a child, rests an envelope. I don't remember placing it there. Its paper is yellowed, its corners softened with time. My heart skips. I lean closer. The handwriting on the front is hers, my wife's. There's no mistaking the delicate curves of her letters, the way she looped the Y in my name. For a moment the room spins. She's been gone for half a decade, yet here lies something she left behind unnoticed until now. A trace of her hand, her mind, her secret. Why would she hide it, and why did I find it today of all days? I reach for it, but stop halfway, my hand trembling. A sudden dread settles in my chest. What if the words inside are not meant for comfort but for warning? What if this anniversary gift is not a gift at all, but a message from the grave? The clock ticks louder. Outside, I hear the faint sound of a car pulling up, the crunch of tires on gravel. My daughter and her husband must be arriving. They insisted on visiting tonight, though their tone on the phone was strangely formal, almost forced. 3 years ago, after my wife's funeral, something shifted between us. My daughter grew distant, her husband colder. We still meet, but a gap has widened, an invisible chasm between father and child. I press the envelope to my chest, a piece of my wife's voice preserved in ink, waiting. The stakes suddenly feel heavier than I can explain. I sense danger in the air. An anniversary turned into a reckoning. And that was only the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The doorbell rings, sharp, urgent. My daughter's husband never waits long. He rings twice, then again louder. I slip the envelope into my jacket pocket before opening the door. They step inside, my daughter carrying a bouquet of lilies, his hand heavy on her shoulder as though guiding her. She smiles at me, but her eyes flicker, nervous, guilty. He doesn't smile at all. His gaze scans the house like a man entering enemy ground. "Happy anniversary, Dad," my daughter says softly, though her voice trembles. Her husband's words cut through the air, low and firm. "We need to talk, tonight." I nod, hiding the envelope, and usher them to the table. My candle sputters, threatening to go out. The anniversary I thought would pass quietly has already shifted into something else entirely. A storm brews in the silence between us, and I know this night will not end the way it began. But I soon realize that wasn't the worst of it. I try to keep the evening simple, as if routine can shield me from what I feel building in the air. I ladle soup into 3 bowls, set the breadbasket in the center, and straighten the silverware twice, though no one notices. I've done this 1,000 times, but tonight each action feels weighted, almost rehearsed for an audience I never wanted. My daughter sits quietly, shoulders tense, folding and unfolding her napkin. She used to chatter endlessly at the table about school friends' dreams. Now, her silence cuts deeper than any harsh word. Her husband fills that silence instead, his voice loud, commanding, as though every sentence must mark his territory. He clears his throat. "You've been in this house alone too long," he says, not even looking at me. His words drop casually, but I hear the sharpened edge beneath them. I stir my soup slowly. This house has kept me company. He snorts, sipping his wine. "A man your age shouldn't live like this. It's not right. You need supervision." The word lingers, humiliating. Supervision, as if I'm a child incapable. My daughter lowers her eyes to the table, avoiding my gaze. Her silence wounds me more than his words. I remind myself of a fact I once read in a psychology journal. Silence in family disputes often signals loyalty to the stronger party in the room. People side with control, not justice. It explains much about my daughter's quiet compliance, but knowing it doesn't soften the pain. I cut a piece of bread, its crust still warm, steam rising faintly. Bread, such an ordinary thing, yet it feels like the last comfort holding me steady. In some cultures, bread is broken to symbolize unity. Tonight, each slice I cut only widens the cracks between us. I take a slow breath, recalling something my grandmother once told me. A house remembers everything. The walls absorb our words. I wonder what these walls have absorbed tonight, her contemptuous silence, his thinly veiled threats, my feigned calm. Things are going to change, he says firmly. We'll talk later, but tonight we start planning. It's for everyone's good. His words strike like nails hammered into wood. He doesn't see me as part of everyone. He sees me as an obstacle. I sip my soup, the broth lukewarm now. Each swallow feels heavier, as though the food itself resists going down. My daughter finally looks at me, her lips parting as if to speak. But no words come out. Instead, she excuses herself to the kitchen, clutching the empty bread plate as though it's a lifeline. The silence she leaves behind grows unbearable. My son-in-law leans closer, lowering his voice so only I can hear. You've lived here long enough. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. A pause stretches between us, thick with unspoken threat. I meet his gaze, steady but silent. My heart beats steadily, yet every instinct screams that tonight is only the beginning of my exile. But I soon realize that wasn't the worst of it. When my daughter retreats to the kitchen, I let my hand drift to my jacket pocket. The envelope is still there, pressing lightly against the fabric, a hidden weight no one else notices. I trace its edges with my fingertips, feeling the brittle paper. It is older than I first thought, creased as though handled many times before being tucked away. I slide it out just far enough to see her handwriting again. My wife's name for me, short affectionate, stares back at me in those delicate loops. I haven't seen her penmanship in years. A personal trace so vivid, it feels like her voice is whispering from the past. My son-in-law pours himself more wine. The sharp scent of it fills the room. You're hiding something, he mutters almost to himself, always clutching at memories, never moving forward. I say nothing. Silence can protect better than words. When my daughter returns, she places the bread plate back on the table and sits quickly, her eyes flickering to the pocket where the envelope rests. Did she notice? Did she know it was there before I did? I remember reading once that certain inks, when left sealed, can last over a century without fading. Museums still preserve letters from the 1800s, the handwriting crisp as the day it was written. That fact comforts me strangely, as if my wife's message was destined to wait until I was ready to receive it. The candle on the table burns lower, wax pooling unevenly. I think of old folk beliefs, how wax drips were once read like omens. Thick drops meant burdens. Thin, fast drips meant swift change. Tonight, the candle runs quickly, hungrily, as if eager to burn itself out. I take a breath and carefully slide the envelope back into my pocket. Now isn't the time. Not yet. But the silence stretches unbearable. My daughter clears her throat. Dad, she begins softly, maybe we should talk about the house. Her husband interrupts, his voice harsh. Enough waiting. Tell him. Her hands tremble in her lap. She doesn't. Instead, she stares at me with eyes that say more than her words ever could, fear, guilt, apology. I push my chair back slowly. Not tonight. I say, my voice steady, though my chest tightens. We'll talk another time. He laughs bitterly. There won't be another time. I stand, moving toward the mantel, where the photo of my daughter as a child still sits, smiling wide in the captured moment. Behind the glass, her younger self seems to plead with me to remember who she once was. The photograph feels like both a shield and a wound. I place my hand gently on the frame. The walls seem to listen. Every heartbeat echoes louder. The envelope burns against my chest like a secret ready to ignite. I'll decide when it's time, I say quietly. He shakes his head, muttering something under his breath I can't catch. My daughter looks down again, ashamed. The house holds its breath. I thought the envelope might give me answers, but I was wrong. It was about to raise more questions than I could imagine. Silence has its own way of speaking. The air at the table feels heavier than the soup bowls between us. My daughter's spoon clinks against porcelain, the only sound breaking the stillness. She doesn't lift her eyes, doesn't meet mine. I wait for her to speak, but she doesn't. I've read that silence in a family dinner can carry more weight than shouting in a courtroom. Tonight proves it. The quiet presses against my ribs until breathing feels like an effort. My son-in-law leans back in his chair, one arm slung over the backrest, his posture a quiet act of ownership. He surveys the room the way a man inspects a property he plans to acquire. Every tick of the clock seems to echo his unspoken claim. I sip my wine, though the taste has turned sour. The candle has nearly burned to the base, its flame shrinking, fighting for air. In some folk traditions, they say when a candle burns too quickly, a presence in the room is unwelcome. I wonder who that presence is tonight, him or me. My daughter finally sets her spoon down. The sound of it meeting the table is sharp, deliberate. She opens her mouth, then closes it again, pressing her lips tight. Her silence slices through me. Once she would have defended me to anyone. Now her quiet feels like betrayal. I recall the day she brought him home for the first time. He had a firm handshake, a practiced smile. I told myself he was nervous, but even then I sensed something behind his eyes, a calculation, a measuring of me as though I were part of some ledger. My wife dismissed my unease. "He just wants to impress you," she said, but my instincts have rarely been wrong. The letter in my pocket seems to grow heavier. I press it unconsciously, wondering if my wife even then foresaw this moment. Did she know he would one day try to erase me from my own home? The silence deepens until it almost hums. My daughter fiddles with her ring, twisting it round and round her finger. In psychology, I once read repetitive movements like this signal anxiety, suppressed words. I wonder if she wants to speak to defend me, but fears the man beside her more than she loves the father across from her. Finally, he breaks the stillness with a laugh, not joyous, not kind, a laugh meant to slice. "This house is too big for an old man. You rattle around here like a ghost. It's time someone filled it with real family." Real family. The words strike me like a stone. I look at my daughter, searching her face for contradiction, denial, even hesitation, but she lowers her eyes again. My heart sinks. Her silence confirms everything. I cut another piece of bread, though I have no appetite. Bread again, the simplest food, yet tonight it tastes of ash. In some rural villages I once visited, people would crumble bread into salt before leaving home, a charm for protection. I almost wish for that charm now. I try to speak calmly. "This is my home. It's where your wife grew up. It's where your children will visit their grandfather." He leans forward, his eyes narrowing, not for long. The words hang, final, unyielding. My daughter exhales shakily as though the breath has been trapped for hours. She whispers almost too softly to hear, "Please don't fight." Her plea wounds me more than his threat. She doesn't want me to resist, she wants me to surrender. The candle sputters out, leaving only smoke twisting in the air. The room feels darker than it should, as though the walls themselves close in. In that darkness, the silence of my family becomes louder than any scream. I thought silence was a shield, but tonight it feels like a weapon. I thought I was safe, but I was wrong. The longer I sit across from them, the more I realize tonight isn't about a quiet visit or an anniversary toast. Something is staged here, carefully prepared, waiting to be executed. My son-in-law avoids my eyes now. He busies himself by pouring another glass of wine, swirling it, watching the liquid spiral like he's studying a map only he can read. People who hide intentions often can't meet the gaze of the one they plan to betray. That I learned long ago. My daughter, however, is the true signal. Her pale face tells me more than any word could. She doesn't eat, she doesn't drink, she just twists her ring and keeps glancing at the doorway as though someone else might walk in. I know that look like a person rehearsing excuses before the confrontation has even begun. I've read somewhere that when people fear being complicit, their body betrays them before their voice does. A psychologist once described it as the body leaking the truth. Tonight, my daughter leaks guilt with every twitch of her fingers, every quick dart of her eyes. The soup cools untouched. My bread lies uneaten on the plate. The meal has become a stage prop for something darker. Finally, he speaks, voice low, deliberate. "You've kept this house long enough. It's not practical. You don't use half the rooms." I tilt my head, studying him, practical or profitable. His jaw tightens. The wine glass in his hand halts midair. My daughter lets out a faint gasp as if my words tore through her last layer of denial. That's when I see it, the first clear signal. Not his anger, not her silence, but the quick flick of his eyes toward her before he answers. It's the look of a man who knows his partner already betrayed the truth to him in private. A silent confirmation she has told him things about me, about the house, about what he believes I can no longer defend. I shift in my chair, pressing the envelope deeper into my pocket. The weight of it grows heavier by the second. Did my wife predict this very moment? Did she leave me the key not only to a memory but to survival? The candle gone, the room sits in half darkness, lit only by the faint glow of the hallway lamp. Shadows stretch long, distorting faces, his look sharper in the dim, almost wolfish, hers softer but cracked by guilt. I remember a superstition from the countryside. If a candle goes out during a family meal, it means one truth has been smothered, but another will soon be revealed. The thought clings to me as his words sharpen. "You can't stay here forever," he says firmly. "Think of your daughter. Think of the future. This house needs a new beginning." His words are calculated. Future, new beginning. Phrases meant to soften cruelty with false reason. But I hear the truth beneath them. He wants me gone. I take a sip of wine, the bitter taste coating my tongue. Silence stretches again, but this time I hold it deliberately, making him squirm. Silence, after all, is also a weapon. My daughter shifts uncomfortably, whispering, "Please, let's not argue." Her voice trembles. That tremble is the crack in their plan, the signal I needed. She is not as strong as he wants her to be. She is already faltering. I fold my napkin slowly, my mind racing. I know now that tonight will end with an ultimatum. They are preparing the strike, and yet in my pocket I clutch a weapon they cannot imagine. I thought his words were the threat, but the real danger lay in her silence. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. It happened suddenly, with the sharpness of a blade slicing through cloth. He slams his glass down on the table, the wine sloshing over the rim, staining the tablecloth crimson. The sound makes my daughter flinch. Then, in a voice loud enough to rattle the dishes, he spits the words I had always suspected were waiting. "You don't belong here anymore." The sentence lands heavy, not just in my ears, but in my chest. My daughter freezes, her lips, parted eyes wide. The words linger, echoing off the walls that have held decades of family laughter, arguments, lullabies, and whispered apologies. Tonight, they absorb humiliation instead. I sit back steady, though my heart is a storm. I've been told before that humiliation is harder to bear when it comes from inside the family rather than strangers. A stranger's insult fades, a family member's cuts into the bone. My daughter lowers her gaze, her silence confirming his claim without speaking. That silence, again. It hurts worse than his voice. She has become his shadow, his echo, even when her heart resists. "Your time is over," he continues, his tone growing sharper. "This house needs younger blood, people who actually matter now. You're just taking up space." Each word is measured cruelty chosen to wound. He doesn't want compromise, he wants erasure. I force myself to stay calm. Losing my temper would give him what he wants. Instead, I let the silence stretch long after his outburst, until he shifts uncomfortably in his seat. Silence, I remind myself, can weigh heavier than anger. I glance at my daughter. Her hands tremble around her napkin, twisting it into threads. She won't look at me. The little girl who once clutched my hand during thunderstorms now cannot lift her eyes to meet mine. A memory flickers. My wife long ago warning me in quiet words, "Don't let anyone make you feel less in your own home." At the time, I didn't know she was planting a seed for the day I would need it most. I take a slow sip of wine. "Is that so?" I say evenly. My voice doesn't rise. It doesn't need to. Years of fatherhood taught me that calmness can unnerve more than rage. He smirks, mistaking my quiet for weakness. "Yes. You're old, you're useless, and it's time you faced it. This isn't your house anymore." Not really. The words strike like nails driven into wood. He believes he has already won. I recall an obscure detail I once read in a law journal. In many places, property disputes between family members can drag on for decades, especially when secret clauses or unexpected documents surface. That fact lingers in my mind like a spark waiting for kindling. He doesn't know what I hold in my pocket. My daughter finally speaks, her voice barely a whisper. "Please stop." But the plea is directed more at me than at him. She wants me to accept, to surrender, to make it easier for everyone. I rest my hand on the table fingers, brushing crumbs of bread. In some old folk customs, breaking bread at a table was considered a pact of unity. But tonight, every crumb feels like the remains of something shattered beyond repair. I straighten my shoulders. The humiliation burns, but it also steels me. His words were meant to strip me of dignity. Instead, they awaken a stubbornness I thought had dimmed with age. I look directly at him. "You may believe I don't belong, but this house knows my footsteps better than it knows yours, and it remembers." He laughs harshly, a laugh without warmth. "We'll see how much it remembers when you're gone." The room chills with his threat. My daughter presses her hands to her face, silent tears slipping through her fingers. The moment stretches carved into memory. His words humiliate me, but they also mark the beginning of something larger. He has declared war, not knowing I already hold the weapon to end it. I thought his cruelty was the climax, but I was wrong. It was only the opening shot. Silence has its own way of speaking. The words linger like poison in the air, and before I can even steady myself, he rises from the table. His chair scrapes hard against the floor, a sound that feels like a blade across stone. "Pack your things," he says coldly. "Tonight, you're leaving this house." For a moment, I think I misheard him. But then I see the expression on his face, not anger now, but triumph. He has been waiting for this command, rehearsing it, savoring the moment of humiliation. My daughter presses her hands flat against the table as if to anchor herself. Her lips part, but no sound emerges. She looks at me, then at him, then back at me, her eyes full of something I can't name. Fear, guilt, perhaps shame, but she does not speak. I feel the old envelope pressing against my chest inside my pocket, my wife's handwriting against my heart reminding me of the promises she left behind. For an instant, I want to pull it out, slam it on the table, and end this farce. But something holds me back. Not yet, not on his terms. Instead, I rise slowly, carefully, like a man much older than I feel. I walk to the hallway closet and take out the small leather bag I always keep ready. Years of habit after my wife's illness, I learned to pack light to keep essentials within reach. The bag holds clothes, a few documents, a book of hers I still read. He watches me with folded arms, his smirk widening. "Good," he mutters. "You understand. Don't make this harder." My daughter stands now too. "Please," she whispers, just that single word trembling useless. I look at her, my only child, the little girl I once carried on my shoulders through rainstorms. I wait for her to say more, for her to defend me, to claim her father belongs in his own home. But the silence stretches, and she lowers her gaze again. Outside, the night greets me with a chill, sharper than usual. The air tastes of damp earth, the kind that clings to your lungs. I step onto the porch with my bag, my footsteps heavy, deliberate. In the distance, the street lamp flickers, casting the yard in broken shadows. My neighbor's curtains twitch. For a moment, I think I see a figure there, watching, waiting. This house has always been part of a quiet neighborhood where everyone knows each other's business. Tonight, I know they hear the door slam behind me, the sound of exile. I stop at the edge of the yard, turning back once. Through the window, I can see him pouring another glass of wine, my daughter sitting small beside him, her shoulders bent inward. They look like victors at a feast, celebrating what they think is the end of my reign. I grip the strap of my bag tighter. My chest aches with humiliation, but beneath it a spark of something steadier grows. They believe they've thrown me out. They think they've stripped me of dignity, of home, of power. But they don't know the truth, tucked against my heart, the envelope, the promise. As I walk down the street, the silence of the night follows me like a second shadow. I think of an old superstition my wife used to mention. Leaving a house under a dark sky meant you carried its memories with you, whether you wanted to or not. Tonight, I carry not just memories, but secrets. I reach the corner and pause, looking back once more. The house stands tall, its windows glowing faintly. To them, it looks like victory. To me, it looks like betrayal. But I know something they don't. The walls remember me. The deed remembers me. My wife remembered me. Humiliation burns, yes, but humiliation can also be the soil where resolve takes root. I thought being thrown out was the end. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. The night air bites my skin the moment I step off the porch. My leather bag feels heavier than it should, though it carries almost nothing. Each step crunches against the gravel, echoing in the silence of the street. I walk slowly, not because I'm weak, but because every step feels like I'm leaving a piece of myself behind. This isn't just a house. It is the echo of my wife's laughter, the smell of her cooking, the walls marked faintly with my daughter's childhood drawings. To be cast out of it feels like being cut out of my own bloodline. The neighborhood is quiet. Curtains shift in the windows. People are watching, though no one dares to open the door. That's the way of neighbors, quick to whisper, slow to intervene. I think of an article I once read about human behavior in moments of injustice. Witnesses often stay silent, believing someone else will act. They call it the bystander effect. Tonight, I am the victim of it. Everyone sees, but no one helps. I turn a corner and pass the old oak tree that my daughter once climbed as a child. She had scraped her knee, sliding down its bark. I remember lifting her, pressing a handkerchief to the wound, whispering, "This house will always be your safe place." The memory pierces me like glass. Safe place, what a cruel irony now. The streetlight above flickers weakly, buzzing like a trapped insect. In folk superstition, a flickering light meant a spirit passing by unsettled. Perhaps tonight that spirit is me, adrift unmoored. I reach the small park at the end of the street and sit on the cold bench. The night presses in. My breath fogs in the air. I rest the bag beside me and slip a hand into my pocket, drawing out the envelope. Its paper glows faintly under the lamp. I hesitate. My wife's writing, still alive, feels like a pulse beneath my fingers. The promise of answers tempts me, but fear holds me back. What if her words confirm my worst dread, that she knew this would happen, that she saw betrayal in our daughter long before I did? Silence envelops me, heavy but not empty. Silence has its own way of speaking. Tonight it says, "Open it." But before I can, I hear footsteps. Slow, cautious, approaching from behind. My heart jolts. I turn, expecting perhaps my daughter, maybe even her husband, come to drive the knife deeper. Instead, it is my neighbor, Mr. Clark, his face shadowed by the dim light. He looks at me with something I haven't seen tonight, concern. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he says in a low voice. Then leaning closer, he adds words that freeze me in place. "Don't trust what you heard inside." The night stills. His eyes, sharp and knowing, hold mine for a moment too long. Then he turns, walking back into the dark, leaving me with nothing but his warning. A chill travels down my spine. Betrayal inside, warning outside, and in my hand an envelope that might tie them all together. I thought exile was the worst, but now I realize exile was only the beginning of the mystery. I thought I was safe, but I was wrong. Mr. Clark's footsteps fade into the night, leaving me anchored to the park bench with only his words echoing in my head. Don't trust what you heard inside. At first, I tell myself he must be mistaken. He couldn't possibly know what was said at my table tonight, unless he has seen more than I realized. The thought stirs unease deep in my chest. The park is empty save for the rustle of branches in the cold wind. I glance around as though the shadows themselves might explain his warning. Nothing, only silence and the dim orange glow of a broken lamp. I press the envelope tighter in my hand. Its paper feels almost warm against my skin, though the night is freezing. Could this be what he was hinting at? Did he know of this letter, this hidden trace of my wife's will? I recall something obscure I once read in small towns. Neighbors often become living archives. They remember details, overhear whispers, keep stories tucked away until the right moment. Mr. Clark, with his quiet eyes and habit of trimming hedges at dawn, has always seemed ordinary, but perhaps he has seen more than he lets on. I rise slowly from the bench, my joints stiff, my breath rising in pale clouds. I turn toward home, then stop. Home, how easily the word becomes contested ground. To them, it is theirs now. To me, it is still sacred. To my wife, it was everything. The letter weighs heavy. My instincts scream that it holds the answer, yet dread chains my fingers from opening it here in the open night. Some truths I feel must be uncovered within walls, not under the stars. I walk on past familiar fences and quiet driveways. Each step crunches louder than it should. I hear the faint call of an owl, a sound country folk once believed to be an omen of death or betrayal. I shiver. As I near the corner, I glimpse Mr. Clark again. He stands half hidden in his yard cigarette ember glowing faintly in the dark. He doesn't wave, he doesn't speak. He just watches like a man guarding a secret. Finally, he says without moving closer, "Things aren't what they seem. Not with them." His voice is rough, urgent. I pause, heart hammering. "What do you mean?" But he only shakes his head. "You'll see. Just be careful." Then he flicks the cigarette embers scattering on the ground and disappears inside. The night swallows his presence. I stand rooted for a long moment. The warning chills me more than the wind. If even my neighbor sees what I refuse to admit, that my own family conspires against me, then I am truly on dangerous ground. I reach into my pocket, clutching the envelope again. The paper crinkles under my grip, reminding me that my wife's words might be the last defense she left me. But still, I cannot open it, not yet. I turn away from Clark's house, my path uncertain, but my mind sharpened. Their betrayal tonight was clear. Yet what unsettles me more is the growing certainty that there are deeper layers still hidden. I thought being thrown out was the end of my humiliation, but his whisper has turned exile into suspicion and suspicion into fear. And fear, I know, can be the sharpest teacher of all. Silence has its own way of speaking. I do not go far. My legs, heavy from humiliation, carry me back to the park bench where the shadows gather like conspirators. I sit again, my bag at my feet, the envelope clutched tight. The night is colder now. The air smells faintly of wet soil, the way it used to after my wife watered her garden. I close my eyes and I can almost hear her humming a tune she always sang when she planted roses. For a moment, it feels like she is near, guiding me. Memories pour in uninvited. Our first night in that house, when the rooms echoed empty but our laughter filled the air. The night we brought our daughter home from the hospital, her tiny cries weaving into the creaks of the wooden floor. The anniversaries marked with cheap wine and heartfelt promises. Every corner of that house holds a piece of me, a piece of her, a piece of us. And now in a single evening, they have tried to strip it all away. I look down at the envelope, my wife's handwriting looping across its surface, a trace of her hand still alive through ink. It is as if she anticipated this moment, as if she wanted to speak across the years. I remember reading once that the human brain clings to handwritten words differently than to printed ones. Handwriting activates memory, emotion, the sense of presence. Tonight, these letters feel more alive than the people who sat at my table earlier. I hesitate, running my thumb across the seal. I could tear it open now, but something stops me. My wife always believed in timing, that certain truths revealed too soon could destroy rather than protect. I wonder if she meant for me to wait to choose the right moment. The bench creaks as I shift. Above me, the branches sway, leaves whispering in the wind. In some cultures, they say trees are witnesses, silent keepers of secrets, storing memories in their rings. This tree above me has watched me walk this park for decades. Tonight, it watches me fall apart. I take out my watch and glance at the time. Midnight approaches. Superstition whispers that midnight is when truths slip easiest between worlds, the living and the dead, the past and the present. A chill runs down my spine. I press the envelope to my lips, whispering into the paper. What did you want me to know? But no answer comes, only silence, thick and pressing. A stray dog trots across the path, its collar clinking faintly. It stops, looks at me, then moves on. Even animals, it seems, know when not to linger near sorrow. My chest tightens. I think of my daughter, her silence at the table, the way she avoided my eyes. Did she betray me knowingly, or has she been trapped in her husband's shadow too long, her voice stolen? The question gnaws at me. I reflect on something I read years ago in a family psychology book, Betrayal. Within a family often feels worse than betrayal by strangers, because it violates the very foundation of trust we're taught to believe is unbreakable. Tonight, I understand that truth in my bones. I stare at the letter, then slip it back into my pocket. Not here, not tonight. The night of memories has prepared me, but the unveiling must wait until I am steadier. The park clock chimes faintly in the distance, each toll reverberating through the still air. With every strike, I feel my resolve harden. They think I am finished. They think they have won. But I still carry her words, and words once spoken or read can change everything. I thought tonight would drown me in loss. Instead, it has reminded me that memory can be a weapon sharper than steel. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. The night has grown colder, pressing its weight into my bones. I cannot keep the letter sealed any longer. My wife's handwriting has haunted me all evening, and the warning from Mr. Clark burns in my ears. Whatever truth lies inside this envelope, comfort or curse, it is mine to face. I pull it from my pocket. The paper feels fragile, as though one wrong tug might shred it. My fingers tremble, but at last I break the seal. The sound is soft, almost reverent, like the tearing of old fabric. I unfold the sheet carefully. Her writing flows across the page, every curve of ink as familiar as her voice. For a moment, my throat tightens. I almost hear her speaking. My love, the letter begins. Just those two words make me close my eyes. She always called me that, even in her weakest days, even when pain bent her body. She writes of the house, how it was never just brick and wood to her, but the vessel of our family. How she worried even then that others might one day try to take it from me. You are the keeper, she wrote. This house is yours. Protect it, for it will protect you. The words strike me like a bell. She knew. Somehow she knew. I pause, breathing unevenly. A line from a legal guide I once read flashes in my mind. Property disputes can fracture bloodlines more than money ever could. Tonight proves that truth beyond argument. My eyes fall to the bottom of the letter, where something small slips out, a key. Tiny brass worn smooth by time. My pulse quickens. I hold it up to the dim park light. Engraved faintly on its head is a number 47. The brass is cool against my skin, but it carries a weight far beyond its size. What could it open? A box, a safe, some hidden drawer within the house? My wife never mentioned it in her lifetime. Yet she entrusted it to me now after her death through ink and silence. An obscure memory surfaces once while we were clearing the attic. She pointed to an old chest tucked in the far corner. Not yet, she had said, smiling faintly. I never pressed. Could this key be meant for that? The letter continues beneath the fold. If you are reading this, it means I am Gisa, gone, and you are facing what I feared. Do not be afraid to use what I left you. Trust the house, it holds more than you know. Her words blur as my eyes sting. I fold the letter gently, pressing it to my lips. Her foresight is both a comfort and a wound. She had carried this fear silently, and now her silence speaks louder than any cry. The night around me stills. Even the wind seems to pause, listening. I reflect on an old folk belief: when a key appears unexpectedly, it means a door is waiting to be opened. But doors once opened cannot be closed again. I sit there, staring at the key in my palm, feeling both powerless and armed. My humiliation tonight feels smaller now, replaced by something stronger: resolve. They think I've been stripped of everything, but my wife has given me a weapon hidden in plain sight. I tuck the letter back carefully, placing both it and the key inside my jacket pocket. My fingers linger there, unwilling to let go. The night seems to lean closer as though the world itself is waiting for my next move. I whisper, "I'll honor you. I'll protect what you loved." But even as the promise leaves my lips, a shadow of doubt creeps in. Protecting the house may demand more than I ever imagined. I thought the letter would bring closure. Instead, it has opened a door to secrets I am only beginning to glimpse. I thought I was safe with her words, but I was wrong. The small brass key glints faintly in the lamplight as I turn it over in my palm. Its edges are smooth, worn down by time, yet the number 47 remains etched into its head. Sharp, deliberate, as though meant to last. I hold it between my fingers, and the cold metal feels heavier than it should, like it carries the weight of everything I don't yet know. I close my eyes and see my wife again standing in the attic years ago. Dust in her hair, sunlight cutting through the small window, and that half smile she gave when I reached for the old chest. Not yet, she had whispered, one day. Could this key belong to that chest? Or was it meant for something else entirely? I recall a curious fact from a history magazine. Brass keys have been found in ruins dating back thousands of years, often buried with their owners. Archaeologists believed they symbolized safe passage, the right to enter another world. Perhaps that is what this key is, a passage my wife left me from despair to truth. I tuck it into my fist and sit back listening to the night. The park is silent except for the occasional rustle of leaves, a silence that feels alive, as though waiting for me to act. But doubt gnaws at me. If this key is so important, why did she hide it instead of telling me? Was she protecting me or protecting something else? A memory stirs. The day before she died, she pressed my hand and whispered, "Don't let them take it." I assumed she meant the house, but now I wonder, was she speaking of something hidden, something more tangible than love and memory? The thought chills me. I glance down at my bag resting by my feet. My whole life reduced to that small weight clothes, a few papers, and now the envelope and key. Yet in that bag may rest the power to undo everything they believe they've accomplished tonight. I try to steady my breathing. My humiliation at the dinner table still burns, but alongside it now is a new flame curiosity. Betrayal wounds, yes, but secrets have a way of healing humiliation into purpose. In folk superstition, keys were sometimes worn around the neck to ward off evil, believed to lock away misfortune. I slip the key into my pocket beside the letter, feeling both comforted and unsettled. I rise from the bench, my legs stiff. The park feels emptier than before, the shadows stretching long as if following me. My footsteps sound louder than they should, echoing down the path. Halfway down the street, I pause and glance back at my house. From here, I can see the faint glow of the dining room window. Inside, no doubt they sit convinced of their victory. He's smug, she's silent, neither aware that I now carry a weapon stronger than their cruelty. Still, questions plague me. What does 47 mean? A room number, a locker, an address. The more I think, the more the mystery grows. The silence presses in. I stop beneath a flickering street lamp, the same one that buzzed earlier. Its erratic glow throws the world into fragments of light and dark. I pull the key out once more, letting it catch the light. I whisper into the night, almost to my wife, "What did you leave me, and why now?" But only silence answers. I tuck it back, heart pounding. Whatever truth this key unlocks, it is bound to be larger than I can yet imagine. And with every step I take, I feel the line between betrayal and revelation blur. I thought the humiliation at dinner was the climax of my pain, but holding this key, I know the true storm has only begun. I thought the key would bring comfort, but instead it has opened a door to fear. I finally return to the small apartment I keep near the edge of town, the place I go when memories at the house grow too heavy. It is quiet, almost bare, with only a worn chair, a kettle, and a narrow bed. I drop my bag onto the floor, but I keep the envelope and key close tucked against my chest. Sleep will not come easily tonight. I set the kettle to boil, its hiss breaking the silence. The steam fogs the small window. For a fleeting moment, I feel almost safe until I hear it. A knock. Not the loud, confident kind. This one is soft, urgent, almost afraid of being heard. I freeze, my pulse quickening. At this hour, visitors are rare. Too rare. I step closer to the door, hesitating. Another knock, quicker this time. I clear my throat and call, "Who is it?" Silence, then a whisper. "It's me, Grandpa. Please open the door." My granddaughter's voice. I unlock it quickly, pulling her inside before anyone can see. She's bundled in a coat too large for her, her cheeks flushed from the cold, eyes wide with fear. She looks around the room, restless, as if expecting someone to follow. "What are you doing here?" I whisper, leading her to the chair. "It's past midnight." She grips my hand tightly, her small fingers trembling. I had to come. Dad can't know I'm here. Her words pierce me. My son-in-law, her father. I sit across from her studying her face. She's only 16, but tonight her eyes carry the weight of secrets far older. I heard them talking, she says, voice barely above a whisper. After you left, Mom cried, but Dad, he said it was better this way. He said once the papers are signed, there'll be no going back. Her words make my chest tighten. Papers, what papers? She swallows hard, leaning closer. And then he burned something. I saw it. Old documents. He didn't want Mom to see, but I did. They were about the house. I feel my stomach drop. The envelope in my pocket seems to grow hotter, heavier. My wife's warning, my neighbor's whisper, and now my granddaughter risking herself to bring me this. Why come to me? I ask gently. Her eyes glisten. Because you're the only one who'll listen. Grandpa, you need to see what they're hiding. Her words strike deep. In a world of betrayal, her courage shines like a candle. But I also know how dangerous it is. A child carrying secrets against her own father, that kind of fracture leaves scars for life. I remember reading once that children of divided families often develop a sharper sense for lies. It's a survival instinct. Tonight, I see that truth in her trembling hands. She pulls something from her coat pocket, a charred corner of paper, half burned, but still legible. My heart stutters as I recognize the header property deed. Not destroyed completely, not yet. I take it carefully, smoothing the brittle edges. The details are incomplete, but one thing is clear: the house was never meant to be signed over without me. I look at her, my voice low but steady. You've done a brave thing coming here, but you must be careful. Your father cannot know. She nods, her jaw set. I don't care if he finds out. I just couldn't let him lie to you. Her defiance both warms and terrifies me. I squeeze her hand. Promise me you'll act normal. Say nothing more. Let me carry this burden. She hesitates, then nods again. The kettle whistles sharply, startling us both. I move quickly to take it off the stove, the hiss filling the silence. When I turn back, she's staring at the envelope on the table, her brow furrowed. What's that? She asks softly. I cover it with my hand. Something your grandmother left me, a secret I need to understand. Her eyes widen with curiosity, but she doesn't press. Instead, she rises, pulling her coat tighter. I should go before Dad notices I'm gone. I walk her to the door, every step heavy with the weight of what she has revealed. Before she slips out, she looks back, whispering, "Don't trust him. Promise me." I nod, though my chest aches. I promise. She disappears into the night, leaving me alone once more. Alone, but not defenseless. I thought exile had left me powerless, but her visit proves I still have allies hidden, fragile but real. Still, one truth remains: secrets burn brighter before they consume everything. The apartment feels even smaller after she leaves, her whisper still hanging in the air. Don't trust him. I sit at the table, the charred deed fragment spread carefully before me. Its edges curl upward, fragile as ash, but the words that survive are enough to ignite something fierce in me. Transfer of property, sole authority retained, witness signature. The rest is gone, eaten by fire. But the meaning is clear. My son-in-law has tried to erase evidence. I reach for the envelope again, placing my wife's letter beside the fragment. Her words protect the house, and this evidence collide in my mind, the pieces of a puzzle falling into place. She had foreseen this. She had known the wolves would one day circle. I think of something I read years ago in criminal psychology. Arson is often used not just to destroy evidence, but to assert dominance. Fire is final, leaving nothing but silence. But tonight his fire has failed. A single corner survived enough to prove that truth resists being buried. I lean back in the chair, exhaustion weighing on me, yet adrenaline keeping me awake. The brass key lies on the table. It's number 47, glinting faintly in the dim light. I wonder if it connects to what my granddaughter saw. Was this key meant to unlock what he tried to burn? My mind drifts to the attic again, that forgotten chest. Dusty, hidden, always avoided. My wife's words return, not yet, one day. Was that chest the true vault of the house's history? The silence of the room feels alive, almost watching me. I whisper into it. What are you trying to tell me? Then a sound breaks through, not from within, but outside, the faint creak of a step in the hallway. I freeze, heart pounding. At this hour, no one visits. I extinguish the lamp quickly, letting the darkness swallow me. Shadows press close as I listen. Footsteps slow, deliberate, just beyond my door. They pause, linger. Then silence. My breath catches. Did my granddaughter's father follow her? Has he realized where she went? I grip the key in my palm until the edges bite into my skin. If he enters, if he finds me now, what then? But after a long minute, the sound fades. Footsteps retreating. The hallway grows still again. Only silence remains. I relight the lamp with trembling fingers. The light spills across the table, revealing once more the letter, the deed, fragment, the key. Together they form a fragile shield, yet one strong enough to keep me upright. A moral thought, Rise's unbidden betrayal, has a way of forcing clarity. It strips away illusions, leaving only what matters. Tonight, I see the truth. My daughter's silence, my son-in-law's cruelty, my granddaughter's courage. Each a reflection of the choices we make when loyalty is tested. I pick up the deed fragment again, tracing the burnt edges. In folklore, they say, fire purifies, but tonight it has betrayed its master. It has failed to consume the whole truth. I tuck the fragment safely into the envelope, sealing the evidence together. My wife's warning. My granddaughter's bravery, the surviving paper, they all converge into one message: do not surrender. The kettle is cold now. I pour the water anyway, sipping it slowly, letting the silence stretch. I thought exile had stripped me of every weapon, but tonight in this dim apartment surrounded by scraps and whispers, I realize I'm not powerless. I have allies, I have clues, I have her voice guiding me still. And when the time comes, I will return, not as a man begging for place, but as a man holding the truth they tried to burn. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. Morning breaks, gray and heavy, as though even the sky hesitates to shine on what must come. I rise from the narrow bed, slip the envelope and key into my jacket, and place the charred deed fragment in my breast pocket. These scraps of truth are my only armor now. I walk back toward the house, each step deliberate, rehearsed. The street feels different in daylight, less forgiving, more exposing. Neighbors glance from behind curtains, then vanish, unwilling to be caught in the story they've already whispered about. The house looms before me, familiar yet distant. I pause at the gate, letting my hand rest on the iron latch. My wife once painted it white, insisting that even the smallest detail must feel like welcome. Now rust streaks down its bars, and the word welcome feels like mockery. Inside, I hear voices, my daughter's soft and breaking, his sharp and commanding. I push the door open without knocking. They fall silent the moment I step in. My daughter's eyes widen, her hands frozen around a teacup. He stiffens, jaw tight, as though my presence is an intrusion into a victory he thought sealed. I say nothing. Words I know would only fuel his fire. Instead, I walk to the table, place the envelope down with quiet precision, and take a seat. The silence stretches a chasm none of us dares to cross. My daughter looks from me to the envelope, her lips parting as if to speak, but no sound comes. He finally breaks it with a sneer. You think putting old paper on the table changes anything? I meet his gaze, steady, unblinking. Silence answers where words cannot. Silence can be a mirror, forcing him to see his own unease. He shifts in his chair, drumming his fingers against the wood. You're wasting your time. This house is ours now. Everyone knows it. Still, I do not speak. I let the weight of quiet settle deeper, thickening the air. My daughter's hand trembles, tea rippling in her cup. It reminds me of something I once read. Silence in negotiation is often the strongest move. The one who fills it first reveals their weakness. Tonight, I will not be the one to break. The envelope lies untouched, but its presence speaks louder than my voice ever could. My wife's handwriting, even sealed, casts a shadow he cannot dismiss. He leans forward, eyes narrowing, searching my face for fear. He finds none. Minutes drag. My daughter finally whispers, "Dad, what is that?" Her husband shoots her a glare, but the question hangs in the air. I simply slide the envelope closer to me, my hand resting on it like a stone. Still, I say nothing. In folklore, they say silence can summon spirits, that the dead draw near when words are withheld. I wonder if my wife's spirit lingers now, filling the gaps my silence leaves. He slams his hand on the table. "Speak, old man. Stop playing games." The teacup jumps, spilling across the wood. My daughter flinches. I remain still, my breath steady. At last, I rise, tucking the envelope back into my jacket. "You'll know soon enough," I say quietly. "Just that. No more." The restraint unsettles him more than anger ever could. His face flushes red, but his words falter. My daughter looks at me with tears in her eyes, torn between fear of him and longing for me. I turn and walk toward the door, each step deliberate. Behind me, the silence I leave feels louder than his rage. In that silence, I realize sometimes the most powerful confrontation is the one without words. I thought shouting would be my weapon, but silence has its own way of speaking. The door has barely closed behind me when I hear it, his voice sharp and venomous, spilling through the cracks of the house. He's bluffing. That old man has nothing. I pause on the porch, my hand resting on the railing. His anger is louder than before, rougher, the kind that grows when silence has left a man cornered. I do not turn back. Instead, I stand still listening. My daughter's voice, trembling, breaks through. But what if he doesn't? What if he really has something? Her words are soft, but they carry enough weight to pierce me. There is doubt in her, now cracks in the obedience he's built around her. He snaps back, "Don't be stupid. If he had proof, he would have shown it. He's clinging to scraps, that's all. Tomorrow we start the process. The lawyer already knows." A lawyer. The word chills me. My humiliation last night was not a reckless outburst, it was part of a plan already in motion. I step off the porch and walk slowly down the path. The gravel crunches underfoot, steady, deliberate. I do not want to reveal that I've heard, but my mind races. A lawyer means documents, signatures, manipulation. He is not just trying to humiliate me, he is preparing to erase me, legally, permanently. As I reach the gate, I recall a fact from an article I once read in Inheritance. Disputes, the side that strikes first with legal action, often sways the narrative no matter the truth. If he has already set that process in motion, then silence alone will not save me. I grip the iron latch tighter. My wife's letter, the charred deed, fragment, the brass key. They are pieces of defense, but not yet a shield strong enough to face the law. Behind me, his voice rises again, full of fury. He thinks he can scare me with old paper. I'll crush him. He won't know what hit him. His arrogance ignites something in me. For years I have been patient, forgiving, willing to overlook small slights for the sake of family. But patience can curdle into weakness, and weakness invites predators. Tonight I feel that patience burning away, replaced by resolve. I walk into the street. The neighbor's curtains twitch again, Mr. Clark watching, silent witness to my exile. This time, he steps out, cigarette between his fingers. "You heard, didn't you?" he asks quietly. I nod once. "They're moving fast. Be careful. Men like him, once they taste power, they don't stop until nothing's left." His warning chills me, but I already know it's true. My son-in-law won't stop at humiliation. He wants complete erasure. The brass key digs into my chest as I walk, reminding me that somewhere hidden in this house is a truth stronger than his lies. I need to find it, soon. I think of folklore again, how in old tales, keys were said to appear only to those who were ready to confront hidden doors. Perhaps my wife believed I would need this one in the moment of greatest danger. That moment feels near. By the time I reach my apartment, night has fallen again. I set the envelope, the key, and the charred deed fragment on the table, laying them out like a general mapping his battlefield. I whisper into the silence, "You wanted war, then you'll have it." For the first time since her death, I feel my wife's presence not as comfort, but as steel. Her letter is not just a plea, it is a command. I thought humiliation was their weapon, but I see now escalation is mine. And tomorrow I will answer his rage with truth. I thought I was cornered, but I was wrong. The fight is only beginning. The next evening, I return not with anger, not with proof, but with presence. Sometimes, simply standing in the place where others don't want you is defiance enough. The house feels colder when I step inside. My daughter is at the table, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea gone lukewarm. Her eyes lift to mine, and for a moment I see the little girl she once was, the one who used to wait at the window when I came home from work, her face lighting like dawn. But that light is gone, replaced by shadows. He's not here. The silence between us is thick, but not hostile. Instead, it feels fragile, like glass about to crack. I sit down across from her. I say nothing. She fidgets, her fingers trembling against the cup. Finally, her lips part and her voice comes out raw. "I'm sorry, Dad." 2 words, but they cut deeper than all his insults. She presses a hand to her face, and to my shock, tears spill through her fingers. I stay still, letting her unravel. In psychology, I once read, tears often come not at the height of pain, but at the moment when silence finally gives permission. Tonight, my silence opens that door for her. He said it was best she whispers, that you'd be happier somewhere smaller, that you'd thank us one day. Her shoulders shake. "But when I saw you leave last night with that bag," I wanted to scream, and I didn't. Her confession is both balm and wound. I want to forgive her instantly, but betrayal isn't erased by tears. Still, her honesty tonight is the first crack in the wall he built around her. I lean forward slightly. "Why didn't you speak?" She drops her hands, her face streaked with tears. "Because I'm afraid of him. Afraid of what he'll do if I stand against him. He said if I didn't agree, he'd take the children and disappear." The words chill me. It's not just control, it's blackmail. A threat sharp enough to bind her silence. I remember something I once read in a legal case study. Abusers often isolate their victims by weaponizing family bonds. Threatening children is the cruelest tactic of all. Tonight I see that truth in her broken posture. I want to reach across the table to take her hands to tell her she is still my daughter, still the girl I raised. Instead, I let another kind of silence stretch one that says, I hear you, I see you, I'm still here. Her sobs quiet after a while. She wipes her face with the back of her sleeve, her voice steadier now. You have to be careful, Dad. He's angry, angrier than I've ever seen. If he thinks you're hiding something, he won't stop. I slip my hand into my pocket, brushing the edge of the envelope in the cool brass key. And what if I am hiding something, I ask quietly. Her eyes widen. Are you? I don't answer. Silence again, deliberate. She studies me, searching for truth in my face, but I let her sit in the not knowing. Sometimes the promise of a secret is more powerful than the secret itself. Outside, the wind rattles the windows. Old folk used to say that when the wind howls at night, it carries messages from the dead. I wonder if my wife is speaking through it now, urging me to stay firm, to protect not only the house but also the daughter who once betrayed me. At last she reaches across the table, her fingers brushing mine. Please don't hate me, she whispers. I cover her hand with mine, the gesture simple, heavy. I could never hate you, I say. But you must decide when silence stops being safety and starts being surrender. Her tears fall again silently this time. But I see at the beginning of courage, flickering like a candle in the wind. I thought she had abandoned me completely. But tonight in her tears I see the first sign that blood remembers. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. The next morning I returned to the house alone. My daughter has gone to take the children to school, and he has left early for work. The silence inside is thick, yet somehow lighter without his presence. It feels like the house itself exhales when he is gone. I wander through the room, slowly running my hand across the walls, the furniture, the door frames. Each surface hums with memory. My wife once told me, a house keeps secrets if you know how to listen. Today, I decide to listen. The living room feels restless. The old mantel clock ticks unevenly, its rhythm broken, almost impatient. I pause near the wall where family photos hang in neat rows. My daughter as a child, her first day of school, birthdays, holidays, all frozen in smiles. I lift one frame, and behind it the wallpaper seems different, slightly bubbled. Something stirs in me. I set the photo aside and press gently against the wall. The surface gives way just a little, as though something lies beneath. My pulse quickens. I fetch a small knife from the kitchen and slide the blade into the seam. The wallpaper peels back, revealing a narrow wooden panel. I tug and the panel loosens with a groan. Behind it, a hollow space. My hand trembles as I reach inside. My fingers brush paper, old, brittle, wrapped with twine. I pull it out carefully. A bundle of documents yellowed with age. My heart races as I untie the string. The first page is unmistakable, the original property deed. Not a copy, not a fragment, but the full official document bearing my wife's signature. I inhale sharply, the room spinning. She had hidden it here behind our daughter's smiling face, as if to say, this house belongs to the family, not to strangers. I scan the lines, my eyes catching on the words, transfer of sole ownership, spouse as witness. The ink is faded but legible, and at the bottom, in her delicate handwriting, her final flourish, her signature. The weight of it presses into me. She had planned for this. She knew betrayal might come not from neighbors or outsiders, but from within our own walls, and she made sure the truth could not be destroyed. My chest tightens, not with sorrow this time, but with grim satisfaction. I recall something from a legal commentary I once read. Original deeds once found can override altered copies in disputes. No lawyer, no matter how cunning, can erase a signed truth sealed in time. As I flip through the bundle, another page catches my eye, a handwritten note from her, shorter than the letter she left in the envelope. It reads, if they ever try to take what is ours, trust the house. It remembers everything. Look deeper. My throat tightens. She had hidden more than documents. She had hidden faith in me, in the house, in the idea that truth cannot be silenced forever. I slide the documents back into the bundle and tuck them carefully inside my jacket. The panel, the wallpaper, the frame, all are restored as if untouched. I sit down on the couch, the deed heavy against my chest. For the first time in days, I feel less like prey and more like hunter. Outside, the wind rattles the branches against the window. Old superstition says the wind carries messages. I imagine my wife's voice in it. You're not alone. Stand tall. The silence of the house feels different now. Not hostile, not empty, protective. As if the walls themselves had waited to reveal this truth until I was ready. I thought the letter was her final gift, but now I see it was only the beginning. And the house still has more to give. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. I cannot bring myself to leave the house just yet. The bundle of papers sits heavy inside my jacket, its presence almost alive, urging me to search further. My wife's note echoes in my mind. Look deeper. I return to the couch and spread the papers across the table, careful not to tear the brittle pages. The original deed lies on top, its ink faded but clear. Beneath it are receipts, letters, and faded photographs, fragments of our shared life she had preserved. At first they seem ordinary, but then I notice something different. Tucked at the very bottom is an envelope smaller than the rest, sealed not with glue but with wax. My wife's initials are pressed into it, the red wax still firm after all these years. My breath catches. I break the seal with trembling fingers. Inside is a folded letter and attached to it a separate page stamped with the insignia of a law office. My eyes narrow as I read. It is a legal note drafted years ago quietly without my knowledge. It states in unmistakable terms that my wife transferred sole ownership of the house to me effective immediately upon her passing. The wording is deliberate, airtight, her signature bold beneath it. My hands shake as I hold the page. This is not just sentiment, it is law. My son-in-law's plans crumble before my eyes, his threats now nothing more than smoke. But the letter she included shakes me more than the legal document. My love, she wrote, if you are reading this, then the storm I feared has come. I have seen ambition in his eyes, the hunger for what is not his. I could not tell you then, you would have confronted him too soon. Instead, I left this for you. Use it when silence is no longer enough. Her foresight pierces me. She had known even before sickness dimmed her that this man would one day betray us, and she had acted quietly with a strength I never recognized. I pause overcome. I remember a cultural detail she once shared from her grandmother. Women in the family often sewed secrets into hems, hid letters in jars, or tucked money into walls. A house is a vault, her grandmother used to say. Only the wise know where to knock. My wife carried that wisdom, and tonight it has saved me. I placed the legal page back, carefully running my fingers over the bold letters of her signature. The ink feels like iron, unbreakable. Still, one question lingers. Why the brass key? If the deed and the legal note were hidden here, then what does 47 unlock? I slip the key from my pocket, holding it beside the papers. Its glint seems almost conspiratorial, as though urging me further. Look deeper. The silence of the room thickens. I hear the tick of the mantel clock, steady, insistent, as if counting down. My chest tightens with both fear and anticipation. I tuck the documents back into their bundle and slide them securely into my jacket. They are proof now, stronger than anything he can conjure, but the key, it still demands an answer. I walk to the attic stairs, each step groaning under my weight. Dust thickens the air as I push open the door. The room smells of cedar and time boxes stacked like forgotten tombstones. In the far corner sits the old chest I once reached for years ago, the one she stopped me from opening. Its lock still intact, brass dulled with age. My hand shakes as I fit the key into the hole. It slides in perfectly. I freeze, breath caught, heart pounding. I thought the deed was the end of her plan. But as the key turns with a soft click, I realize my wife left more than proof. She left something waiting, hidden beyond paper, beyond law. I thought the storm was nearly over, but the chest tells me it is only beginning. The chest still haunts me, but I do not open it yet. Some doors must wait for the right moment, and I know that moment is coming soon. Proof in hand, I prepare for something else. First exposure. A week later, my son-in-law hosts a family dinner. He dresses it as generosity, inviting cousins, siblings, even a few neighbors. But I know the truth. It is theater, a stage where he intends to play the role of master of the house. I arrive unannounced, walking into the dining room as the guests settle. The room hushes instantly. Some look surprised, others curious, but all sense the tension that fills the air. He freezes when he sees me. For a moment his confidence falters. Then he recovers, forcing a smile, too tight to be genuine. "Well," he says loudly, "look who decided to join us. I thought you'd moved on." The guests murmur, glancing between us. My daughter looks down, hands folded tightly in her lap. I don't respond to him. Instead, I walk to the head of the table, the seat he has claimed as his, and place a worn leather folder on the tablecloth. I say nothing as I open it, laying out the original deed, the legal note, and my wife's signature for all to see. Gasps ripple through the room. My son-in-law's face drains of color, his jaw clenching. "This house," I say quietly but firmly, my voice carrying in the silence, "belongs to me." My wife made sure of it. She knew this day might come. And she left the truth where you could not destroy it. My daughter lifts her head, her eyes brimming. For the first time, she doesn't look away. He lunges forward, grabbing for the papers, but I lay my hand flat across them, steady as stone. Careful, I murmur. These are originals. Burn 1 in 10 witnesses will testify to what they saw tonight. The cousins lean forward, reading the signatures, whispering. Neighbors glance at each other uneasy. The theater he staged is crumbling, the audience shifting its gaze. He forces a laugh, though it cracks in the middle. Old documents, outdated, they mean nothing. Law doesn't fade with ink, I reply. And everyone here can see her handwriting, her signature. You can sneer, but you cannot erase what she left. The silence that follows is thicker than smoke. He looks around the table searching for allies, but finds none. Even his own children avoid his eyes. I recall a detail from a psychology study. When a liar is confronted with undeniable proof in front of witnesses, they often lash out violently or retreat completely. Which will he choose? His fists tighten, knuckles pale. For a moment I think he will strike the table. But then to my shock he steps back, his chest heaving. My daughter begins to cry softly, whispering, "Dad, I'm so sorry." Her tears fall openly this time, not hidden in silence. The guests shift uncomfortably, but I keep my eyes on him. "You tried to erase me," I say. "You humiliated me. You burned what you thought would protect you. But the truth endures. And tonight, everyone sees it." His face is a mask of rage, but he says nothing. He cannot. Words would only bury him deeper. I gather the papers, calmly sliding them back into the folder. The silence that follows is not mine. This time, it belongs to him. His silence is the sound of defeat. I thought private humiliation was the deepest wound. But public exposure cuts sharper because it leaves no place to hide. Still, even as victory flickers in my chest, I feel the weight of the brass key pressing in my pocket. The chest in the attic remains unopened, and something tells me its contents will turn triumph into something far more complicated. But I soon realize that wasn't the worst of it. The air in the dining room has turned heavy, the kind of silence that presses down on every chest. My folder rests before me, the documents safe again inside. Around the table, no one touches their food. All eyes shift between me and him. He stands rigid at the far end, his face flushed, his jaw grinding as though every tooth inside is at war. His hands clench and unclench, the performance of a man cornered. Finally, he speaks too loudly, voice cracking. "It's a trick. That paper means nothing." He's desperate, trying to cling to a house that doesn't belong to him anymore. But the words fall flat. His voice shakes and the audience knows it. A cousin leans closer to the documents, nodding slowly. "That's her signature," she whispers. The others murmur agreement. My daughter wipes her eyes with trembling fingers. She doesn't defend him, not anymore. Her silence tonight is different. It isn't obedience. It's withdrawal, the first step away from his shadow. I lean forward, my tone steady low, cutting through the room like a blade. "You called me useless. You said I didn't belong here. But the truth is written in her hand, and now everyone sees you for what you are." His face twists, rage flooding through him. He slams his fist on the table, rattling plates and glasses. The children flinch, one starting to cry. He points at me with a shaking finger. "You think this makes you strong? You think anyone will take your side? I am this family now." But his words betray him. The louder he shouts, the weaker he appears. I recall something from a legal commentary. When liars are confronted, they often double down, unable to retreat, because retreat feels like death. Tonight, he is choking on his own lies, and everyone watches. My daughter finally speaks, her voice raw but clear. "No, you're not." Her words silence the room. His head snaps toward her, shock flashing across his face, but she doesn't look away this time. Tears streak down her cheeks, but her gaze is steady, defiant. "You've hurt us long enough. You've hurt him long enough. This house isn't yours. It never was." The crack in his mask shatters. For a moment he looks less like a victor and more like a man stripped naked before a crowd. The neighbors exchange glances, whispers spreading like fire. A cousin mutters, "He lied to all of us. The tide has turned and he feels it." He takes a step toward me, eyes blazing, fists tight. For a second I think he might strike. My body tenses, but I don't move. I simply lay my hand over the folder again. Calm, steady. Proof is stronger than fists. He stops inches from me, breathing hard, his face red with fury. Then slowly he steps back, the realization settling in. He cannot win this fight. Not here, not now. The silence that follows is thick, but it isn't mine to carry anymore. It belongs to him, the silence of a man exposed. I glance at my daughter. She nods faintly, her tears falling freely, but there is something else in her eyes now. Resolve. She has broken free of his hold, at least in this moment. I gather the papers once more, sliding them back into the folder, my movements deliberate. Around the table, no one dares speak against me now. The weight of truth fills the room heavier than stone. I thought humiliation was the sharpest blade, but no exposure is sharper. Humiliation wounds in secret, exposure wounds in front of everyone. Still, even as I sit with this moment of triumph, I feel the brass key pressing against my chest like a heartbeat. Proof has silenced him tonight, but the chest in the attic still waits, and I know what waits in silence has the power to change everything again. I thought victory was mine at last, but I was wrong. The dinner ends not with laughter, not with toasts, but with silence, broken only by the clink of abandoned cutlery. Guests excuse themselves quietly, their eyes avoiding his, their whispers trailing into the night. The theater he staged has collapsed, leaving him standing on an empty stage with the curtains torn down around him. My daughter lingers by the table, her shoulders hunched, her eyes swollen from tears. She doesn't follow him when he storms into the other room. For once, her silence feels like separation, not submission. I gather the documents back into the folder, my hands steady. Around me, the room looks unchanged: plates, wine glasses, scattered crumbs. But the air is different. A fracture has opened and nothing will seal it again. He returns minutes later, his face pale, his rage simmering just beneath the surface. He does not speak to me. Instead, he turns to her, his voice low but sharp. "You embarrassed me, in front of everyone." She flinches but doesn't look away. "No," she says softly. "You embarrassed yourself." The words strike him harder than any blow. He stares at her, stunned as though hearing her voice for the first time. Then he storms past the door, slamming so hard the walls shudder. The silence afterward is thick, but not suffocating. For the first time in years, the house feels like it's breathing again. My daughter collapses into the chair, covering her face with her hands. Her sobs come quietly at first, then louder, echoing in the space that once swallowed her voice. I sit beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "You were brave tonight," I whisper. She shakes her head. "Too late. I should have stopped him sooner. I let him use me. I let him hurt you." Her words slice me, but I answer gently. Better late than never. Silence is heavy, but it doesn't have to be forever. I recall something I once read in Abusive Dynamics: the moment of first resistance often feels like breaking through ice. Fragile, terrifying, but irreversible. Tonight, she has cracked the surface and the water beneath is rushing through. She looks at me with eyes red but clearer. What happens now? I glance at the folder in my hand, then at the ceiling above where the attic waits with its locked chest. Now, I say quietly, "We finish what your mother started." She frowns. "Mom?" I nod slowly. She left more than memories. She left truth, hidden truth. Her lips tremble. I always thought she kept secrets from me. I hated her for it sometimes. "She didn't keep them from you," I tell her. "She kept them for you. For us." Silence settles again, softer this time, almost protective. She wipes her tears, straightens and whispers, "Then let's find them." I feel my chest tighten with pride. For years I feared I had lost her to his shadow, but tonight, in the aftermath of exposure, she has taken her first step back into the light. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the windows. Old folk used to say that when the wind rises after a storm, it carries away the poison left behind. I wonder if tonight the house itself is cleansing what he has stained. Still, the battle isn't over. His silence may feel like retreat, but I know better. Men like him don't surrender. They wait, regroup, strike when shadows fall again. I tuck the documents close, the brass key pressing against them inside my jacket. My wife's voice echoes in memory. "Look deeper." The chest waits. I thought the public scene had ended the fight, but no, the aftermath has only reset the stage for what comes next. I thought the storm had passed, but the horizon tells me another is forming. That night, long after the guests have gone and the house has fallen quiet, I sit alone in the living room. The documents lie on the table before me, their ink steady, their truth undeniable. Yet even with proof in my hands, my heart is restless. The clock ticks steadily on the mantel, its sound too loud in the silence. Once that ticking comforted me. My wife used to wind it every Sunday evening, her fingers careful, her smile soft. "A house with silence needs rhythm," she would say. Now the rhythm feels like a reminder that time is not healed, it is only revealed. I stare at the chair across from me, the one where he usually sits. For years he has filled this space with his voice, his orders, his mockery. Tonight it is empty. And yet, in its emptiness, I feel the residue of his presence like smoke after fire. My daughter drifts into the room quietly, her eyes swollen from tears but her steps lighter than before. She sits across from me, folding her hands. For a while we say nothing, then she whispers, "I don't know who I am anymore." Her words cut deep. I think of how loyalty binds us, how betrayal reshapes us. A daughter caught between father and husband, between memory and fear. She is fractured, and I wonder how much blame lies on me for not protecting her sooner. I remember something I once read in a medical journal. Trauma isn't always loud. It often hides in silence, in the things left unsaid. My daughter's silence these past years wasn't just fear. It was injury festering unseen. I reach across the table, my hand covering hers. "You are still my daughter," I tell her softly, "and you are stronger than you know." Her lips tremble. I thought siding with him would keep the peace, but it only killed me inside. I nod slowly. Peace built on fear isn't peace, it's prison. The words hang between us heavier than the silence. She leans forward, tears spilling again, whispering, "How do we fix this?" I pause, staring at the documents, then at the ceiling above the attic, the chest, the key pressing against my pocket. We begin by uncovering everything. Secrets brought us here. Truth will lead us out. Her gaze follows mine, upward, curiosity flickering through her grief. She wipes her face, her voice steadier now. "Then show me. Whatever Mom left, I want to see it too." I feel my throat tighten. My wife had prepared me, but perhaps she had also prepared our daughter. Perhaps the hidden chest was never meant for me alone. Outside, the wind moans against the windows. In folk belief, such a sound meant spirits walking. Tonight, I believe it. I can almost feel my wife here, urging me onward, reminding me that family is not blood alone. It is the choices we make when love is tested. I lean back in my chair, my eyes drifting to the shadows on the walls. Betrayal has carved wounds deep in me, but in those wounds I also see clarity. What is family if not a mirror? My son-in-law revealed greed. My daughter revealed fear. And I must reveal strength even when it costs me everything. The clock strikes midnight. 12 sharp tolls echo through the house, each one a reminder that time moves forward whether we are ready or not. I gather the documents back into the folder and press them close to my chest. Then I touch the key in my pocket, its brass cool, its number etched like fate. Tomorrow I will open the chest. Tomorrow the house will reveal its last secret. For now I sit in silence, reflecting. I thought loyalty meant protecting others at all costs, but I see now true loyalty is protecting the truth no matter who it breaks. I thought I had already faced the hardest part, but the final door has yet to open. Dawn breaks pale and uncertain, the kind of light that feels hesitant to touch the earth. I climb the attic stairs with my daughter close behind. Each step creaks like a voice from the past. Dust floats in the narrow beam of morning sun that leaks through the small window, painting the room in ghostly gold. The chest waits in the corner exactly where I left it years ago. My wife's chest. The one she told me to leave untouched. For years I obeyed her words. Not yet. But today is different. Today yet has become now. I kneel, the brass key cold in my palm. My daughter stands beside me, her breath shallow. I fit the key into the lock and it turns with a soft click. The sound is final, inevitable. Inside, layers of fabric and old keepsakes lie folded neatly. Letters, photographs, small trinkets from our life together. But beneath them, wrapped in cloth, is another folder. My hands tremble as I open it. Inside are documents, bank statements, hidden savings accounts, investments I never knew she had made. Enough money to ensure I could never be cornered, never humiliated into dependence. My wife, quiet and deliberate, had prepared a shield I never saw. But there is more. A handwritten note, short and direct. "My love, if you read this with our daughter beside you, then I have done my duty. Protect her. Protect the house. Do not let fear make her small. And remember, truth is the inheritance that matters most." My daughter presses a hand to her mouth, tears spilling freely. She whispers, "She knew. She always knew." I nod, my throat tight. My wife had seen the storm long before it broke. She had left not only proof, but strength, documents, savings, and words that bind us together even now. We sit in silence, reading, holding the pages like fragile relics. Outside, the wind stirs the branches against the roof. In folk belief, morning wind after a storm means cleansing, a new beginning. Perhaps that is what this is. Later, when we descend, the house feels different, lighter, no longer weighed down by his shadow. My daughter takes my hand, something she hasn't done since she was a child, and whispers, "Thank you, Dad, for staying." Her words carry both sorrow and promise. The days that follow are not simple. He rages, threatens, even tries to return with false papers. But the originals, the law and the witnesses of that night hold him at bay. Neighbors turn cold toward him. Family whispers shift. His power crumbles, not with a bang, but with the slow erosion of truth grinding stone into dust. I sit often in the living room now, the clock ticking steadily, the rhythm once again a comfort. My daughter visits daily, her children running through the halls, their laughter filling the spaces once choked by silence. The house breathes again, alive. Yet even in peace reflection lingers. Betrayal leaves marks. I wonder often how easily love can be twisted into control, how silence can wound more than words. I wonder how close I came to surrendering had I not listened to the whispers, my wife's, my granddaughter's, even the neighbors. But above all, I reflect on this family is not guaranteed by blood nor erased by betrayal. Family is chosen each day in loyalty, in courage, in truth. I rise one evening and touch the mantel where her photo still rests. The candle flickers beside it. I kept my promise, I whisper, and I will keep protecting them. The flame steadies as if in answer, and so the story closes not in rage but in quiet strength. My humiliation became my weapon, my silence became my voice, and my wife's foresight became my shield. The storm has passed, but its lessons remain. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it touched you, please subscribe and continue with the next story in the playlist.